Okay, so welcome to the very final day of Awaken. 6 sessions after today. It's been a 2-week process of really getting to know ourselves independently and then also collectively, because what we've come to recognize is that what is in one is in the whole, and what we recognize within ourselves is generally what's actually happening in the world around us. And so my hope is that after this session, there is this sense of not only equanimity, but an understanding in what it means to live the life of divine paradox, which we're going to get into today. So to begin with, I'm just going to ask us all, whether you're here live or the recording, to just close your eyes and let's bless the session. And so this is a little blessing that we do in order to not only bring us into the present moment, but also to connect us with anybody in our lives that we want to send love and nurture and protection to, nourishment as well. So we close the eyes and we bring our attention into our heart space. And imagine in the center of your heart, a seed of gold. And the seed of gold grows and grows and illuminates until your whole upper torso is glowing in gold. And gold is a divine color. It's the color of alchemy. And so just visualizing the color gold in itself sends a signal to your energy body to help alchemize anything that you've got going on in the physical and energetic bodies, that if it doesn't serve you, it gets transmuted and sent back with love to where it came from. Gold, gold, gold. Now, imagine this seed halving and becoming 2 seeds. And one seed is the seed of compassion, and the other seed is the seed of selflessness. And in your mind's eye, just name each of those seeds. So name the one seed, compassion, speak compassion into it by simply naming it. And in the other seed, name selflessness. By naming it, you speak it into life, into being. And now we are energizing these seeds with the qualities and the energies of those 2 virtues, compassion and selflessness. And by doing that, by accessing these virtues, we access divine love and higher consciousness. Just notice what's going on for you in your body. Keep the breath slow, steady. And now you start to notice how these 2 seeds start blossoming into lotus flowers, still at the heart space. And now, as you see these 2 lotus flowers at the heart, call on the God of your understanding, be it God, Mother, Source, Infinity, and ask the God of your understanding to bless, love, and nurture these lotuses. These beautiful golden lotuses at the heart. And now send these lotuses out, whether it be to a person, a place, a community. See those lotuses floating out to their intended destination. And become aware that to give is to receive. So as you are sending these lotuses out, you too are receiving the love, protection, and the nurturing qualities that you are giving to this person, place, community. Take a deep breath and open your eyes. So that's a little virtue blessing that we can do whenever we feel like we need to send love or send our well wishes or anything to the people in our lives. We've now learned that, we've learned a whole bunch of stuff about energy. And today I want to talk a little bit about how we can move energy, how we can see energetic forces within our lives as energy medicine at play. And I also want to talk about the divine paradox, which is a very interesting take on the word and. And it goes against what we collectively have been taught. And so in this session, I really hope that we can come out of it being more accepting of one another and bringing to light the sense that everybody is good, everybody is doing the best that they can, and that we play a part in that evolutionary tale as well. And so, as always, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat. And if you're watching the recording and you have questions, keep those emails coming. I will be answering all of the questions as I mentioned in the previous session. So we'll spend some time doing that at the end. And so as we go through today's session, I wanted to recap on a couple of things. I want to share my screen and just show you this idea of what a energy center looks like and how it sits in the body. And these diagrams, these sketches are very basic. They come from some of the parts, some of the manual of Lessons in Truth. But for those of you who've asked like a few questions about the energy centers, I just wanted to show you an image that you've probably seen a million times before, but now you can put a face to a name, so to speak, where you're able to look at this image and see it as what we're speaking of. So as I'm sharing my screen here, this is, can you see this page? Right. So here is an image of a person sitting in meditation, and these are the energy centers that run up and down the body, as I mentioned them in the previous session. Each one of these energy centers are depicted in a color, but remember, the colors are not necessarily set in stone, so to speak. So even though they act as a guide, they act as the map for what it is that we are looking, where we are on the map. We can use them and relate to them, but we must also remember that sometimes these colors may not be as represented for us. So we may find that the base for us may be like a dark brown or a black, and that's also okay. There's no wrong, there's no right. It's just that these depictions, these color depictions were created to create the map, so to speak. Okay. Each one of these energy centers has a specific word that we use in English to describe it. And we also have the words in Sanskrit, which are specifically that yogic language that I was speaking about, specifically to the lineage that I learned them from. And then, of course, each one of those energy centers that run up and down the spine that have these different names, these words, these ways that we talk about them, these labels we give them, they don't only exist within the physical body, but they also exist around the physical body. So they create what we call the auric layers. So they transmit from inside the physical body to outside the physical body. I just want to check. I think Rudy fell off and I think he might be in. Oh, he's just gone. Okay. I know he wanted to be here. Anyway, so let me just continue sharing. I just didn't want him to be in the waiting room. And so inside the physical body, it relays out to the energetic body, the layers of the auric body. And then, of course, each one of those layers carries with it the specific transcription of what exists in the body. And so this is where it gets really interesting. It gets really fascinating for us to exist in the world, because ultimately what I'm saying is that anything that is unresolved, repressed, or oppressed that exists within the physical body, within the thought body, the mental body, the emotional body, any experience that we're having internally is what we experience externally. And so everybody will have this very soft, subtle understanding of what's going on for us in our field if they're attuned to us and what's going on in our field. So the word attunement, let me stop my screen share here. So the word attunement really means to tune into. And so if we can understand that energy medicine in itself, energy is a frequency, and that frequency has there's Lizzie, that frequency is specific to that energy center. And so if we have a frequency that we're trying to tune into, like a radio or a Wi-Fi frequency, the thing that tunes into it becomes attuned to it. And so we can say from a mechanical perspective or a machinery perspective, like we can tune into the Wi-Fi or the radio, but from a human perspective, when we are tuning into something, we are attuning to it. So we're attuning to the frequency. And so we can attune to the frequency of love because it is a vibrationary experience that exists within the heart space. So we would attune to the heart chakra in order to experience the vibration of the heart energy, which is love, forgiveness, kindness, appreciation. And so all of these emotions or these virtues and states of being have their own energetic frequencies, these signatures, that if we learn how to attune our frequency to that, we can connect, right? And so this is a really important lesson because we talk about the law of attraction and the law of manifestation, and there's a lot of buzz around these two phrases, but nobody really explains what you're doing in this law. And I think it's gotten a little bit misconstrued where people think you just think happy thoughts and then all of a sudden you're practicing the law of attraction. It's not just the thoughts that play a part in the law of attraction, it's also the feeling. So the thoughts send the signal out and the feeling will draw it back to you. And the idea with the law of attraction is that you are thinking the thoughts, but you must be experiencing the ramifications and the embodiment of that thought in order to have the experience magnetized back to you. And so for us to be in a state of receptivity, we must create the embodiment of what it is we're choosing to attune to, so that we can create the life that we want, so that we can create the manifestation of whatever it is that we're looking to attract. And so from an energetic perspective, yes, we have everything within us. Yes, we have everything outside of us. In order to create that art of manifestation, we must clear up our own energetic house so that we are clear and open and receptive, not only internally, but also externally, so that our aura can actually magnetize the things that we want to us. So energy medicine in itself is really, in a nutshell, a set of laws that we exist within, that we play with, that once we understand what those laws are, we actually get to the point where we become a clear vessel for whatever it is that we're calling in to come to us. And one of those laws is the law of attraction, which I've briefly explained, which we go into in depth in Lessons in Truth. But the second law that I want to talk about today is the law of polarity, the law of paradox. So the law of polarity means that there must be both in order to exist. What do I mean by that? I just want to quickly check here. Shame. I can see there's a message that's come through. I know it's midnight where he is, and he's awake. He stayed awake for the session, and now he's fallen off. Anyway, and so I want you to imagine this, right? Let's imagine you and I are floating in the universe. Okay, like we're floating, we're souls just hanging out in the universe. And we see this planet, and there's two people on this planet called Earth. But there's many more people, but we've got our sights on these two people. And we're watching these two people, and the one comes from the south and the one comes from the north. And they're walking across the planet, and we're just watching them. And they meet in the middle of the planet. And they look at one another. They're like, oh my gosh, who are you? And he says, I'm from the south of the planet. And the person from the north goes, there's no such thing as the south. There's only the north. Where are you from? And vice versa. And they're on this planet having an argument about the fact that there is no such thing as the opposite side, when in actual fact, I and you, little souls in the universe floating around, are looking down, and we can see that both of them are right, that both of their experiences exist. So even though they're on the planet arguing with one another about who's right and who's wrong, we can see that separated, detached point of view sees that both of them are right, that no one is wrong, and that those experiences can both exist at once. And so the law of polarity is really about two opposites exist in order for the opposite to exist. Okay, so you cannot have darkness without knowing what light is, because if you had never seen light before, darkness would just be, it wouldn't be darkness, it would just be. There's no sadness without joy, because if you didn't experience joy, sadness would be all there is. And so there's always one part of the half in the whole. And in that, they create the opposites of one another, which allow them both to exist. Okay, so why is this relevant in today's day and age? I firstly wanted to read a little piece from Brené Brown's book, which I mentioned in the last session, where she talks about paradox. So firstly, there's a quote from Carl Jung, who's a psychoanalyst, who I follow a lot of his work, and a lot of what I teach has been influenced by him and the way that he has made discoveries in the world of psychotherapy. And he says the paradox is one of our most valuable spiritual possessions. Only the paradox comes anywhere near to comprehending the fullness of life. Okay, and so paradox in itself means that we can hold both. In order to experience the fullness of life, we must be able to hold both, not choose one or the other, but one and the other. So Brené Brown goes to say, embracing the paradox teaches us how to think deeper and with more complexity. It invites us to reality check the validity of the statements. It moves us away from oversimplifying how systems, organizations, and humans work. Paradox is not an emotion. It starts with thinking, but brings in emotions as we start to feel the tension and pull of the different ideas. Our brain wants to solve the puzzle, but paradoxes can't be fully resolved unless using rationality and logic. And we need to allow the seeming contradictions to coexist in order to gain deeper understandings. In this way, paradox forces us to think in expansive ways and lean into vulnerability. And so one of the things that I have enjoyed the most in my quest for understanding paradox is the fact that, I mentioned this last week, is that the fact that in order for me to practice silence, I'm in that moment practicing the art of divine paradox, where I'm able to hold both examples, both ends of the spectrum, and not choose either one of them, because choosing them, making one person right and one person wrong, is a very earthly human thing to do. And if I'm looking to experience the fullness of life and to rise above the human experience, to create unity consciousness in the way that I act and the way that I be in the world, then it's really about me being able to lift up out of the desire to make one person wrong and the other person right, and hold both of their experiences as valid and right and fine and perfect. Yeah. And so we choose one way or the other. And if in that choice we make the other wrong for making the choice, then we're choosing a lesser version of consciousness. We're not leaning into unity consciousness, which unity consciousness means that we've lifted up above these two decisions, these two ways of being. We've lifted up and out of it, and we're viewing it from the third truth, because this guy's having his truth that the North exists. This guy's having his truth that the South exists, and they're both their truths. But once I lift up out of it, I'm having an experience of both of those truths, which is the third truth. Both of them are right. No one is wrong. Yeah. And so with that, we look at paradox, and we're able to hold two opposing arguments, and we're able to be in a polarizing world community and hold space for either one of those experiences to be right. Yeah. And so when we talk about divine paradox, what we mean by that is that what you think is the truth is generally flipped on its head, and it's the complete opposite. So from a divine perspective, what you think is big is actually small. What you think is small is actually big. What looks safe is actually risky. What looks dull is really divine. And when you make a choice out of fear, you rarely find safety. You see, so if you're making a choice because you think it's the safe thing to do, well, ultimately that choice comes from a sense of fear, which means that you won't find safety in it because the intention behind making that choice was from fear. That's the divine paradox. Another one is that when you're not looking for a reward, you find it. You know, because you're not looking for something, you're open and receptive to anything. And so therefore, there's a world of possibilities available for you to experience without you being tied down to one specific possibility, you know? And so why is this important when we're studying energy medicine? Well, as I said to you before, there's nothing that we can learn theoretically about energy medicine without it becoming, first and foremost, very importantly, about the way we show up in our lives, the way that we contribute to society, the way that we hold space for opposing views to coexist in the same paragraph, sentence, discussion, conversation. And there's no point in learning about energy medicine to clear out our own field and to clear the field around us if we're not choosing to be a force of good, if we're not choosing to be the change that we wish to see in the world. And so clearing out our own house, so to speak, is an opportunity for us to unhook from anything that may trigger us in the world so that we can live a life of holding opposing paradoxical opinions, being able to hold two parts of a whole within one experience. Yeah. I hope that that makes sense, because paradoxically speaking, something that seems really, really small, like something that doesn't really take a lot to explain, a lot of time to explain, is actually the biggest, most profound message. I always marvel at how, most of the world's issues, problems, concerns can be solved in a sentence, because the sentence in itself is simplified to the point where it's so simple and yet it's so profound. And in that we find the paradox, the divine paradox. And I was speaking to a coach of mine the other day, and I was saying to her, the more I lean into this work, the more I want to return back to basics. And she said that that's actually what it's about, because the basics seem to be the easiest, but they're actually the most challenging. So we can go through this whole range of learning the basics and understanding the theory and then applying it in our lives and embodying it and creating this beautiful wheel, or an infinity loop, only to get back to the beginning, to experience it and to learn the theory all over again. And in that second round, or that third round, or that fourth round, we start to open ourselves up to even more divine intelligence, because we're going a level deeper. It's like a spiral, right? A lot of those students of Lessons in Truth from last intakes are coming back to learn this again. Because, and by the way, once you've done the full 3 levels of Lessons in Truth, you have lifetime access to this program, which means that once you have participated in all 3 levels, you have the opportunity to come back every time we run it, so that you can go deeper and deeper, just like a spiral. So you start in the middle and you learn the important parts, and then you do a whole big loop, and then you come back. And even though you may seem like you're going back to the center, you're actually creating a wider net of wisdom, where you're able to lean into these teachings just a little bit more. And so just to clarify, this is the only Lessons in Truth program that I'm running between 2022 and 2023. Who knows if we run one in 2024? That's too far ahead for me to think. But what we've done this time around is create the full Lessons in Truth curriculum over 9 months. And then we're having an alumni. So what that means is that next year, everybody who's participated in Lessons in Truth 1, 2, and 3, which, in case I'm confusing you now, the last 2-3 years, we've actually divided Lessons in Truth into level 1, level 2, level 3. But this time we're doing the original teachings and actually creating it all as just one program, which is why it's taking the full 9 months. So if you're doing this intake, consider yourself having, taken all 3 levels. And then we come back next year and we apply everything we've learned, and we talk about it, and we workshop it, and we create this sense of community around all of the things that we've learned as part of Lessons in Truth. And I'm looking forward to that the most, because the students from last year's alumni came into, not last year, the year before, anyway, whenever it was, and we did a full alumni group where everybody got together and we did share circles, and it was just the most beautiful things came from that. And I'm really excited to be offering that again for this intake. And so I'm hoping that this understanding of energy medicine, what's in exists out, and the reasons we study energy medicine to clear our house out, to create this field around us that's clear and bright and exuberant and vibrant, so that we can be the change in the world that we wish to see, and that we're able to hold opposing forces in the world, which right now is huge. This is why I'm going to run the masterclass that everyone in Lessons in Truth gets as a freebie. because right now holding polarizing discussions is quite frankly one of the most important things that you can do right now, because the world is at conflict. Everything that you are seeing right now in the world at large is created, mainstream media wise, to have you combat your brothers or sisters. Someone is putting something in your field that's triggering an old wound or a trauma that you are rehashing, reliving from an unconscious point of view, and you're going out in the world and you're projecting all of that unconscious behavior out there, trying to fix what's out there without tending to your own house first. And so the whole point of Lessons in Truth and everything that I do in my business is to help you come into unity for self, so that you can come into unity for consciousness, so you can hold the collective as they go through what is a really challenging and tumultuous time. And that is how we create change. That is how we create the world that we want to see, by being able to hold both ends of the spectrum, and not all. No one's right, no one's wrong. Everyone just exists and is in this on this planet, in this world, for the right reasons, at the right time. There's no good person, no bad person. And of course, there's a lot to be said about that, but I'm not going to get into that too much, because there's obviously a lot of wrong that's been done in the world. And that's not to say that it's excusing all of that. It's just looking at it from an impersonal point of view and seeing how we can change our own energy to the point where we can hold the polarization of the collective. So I hope that there's no questions. Lizzie, please let me know if there's anything. And then what I might do is just go into the questions, that have come through from email. So I'd like to answer those. So to begin with, is there anything here? No. Okay. So the first thing is that, which I covered here now, we're healing me, then we're healing we, as in like in the group, and then we heal the world. We don't go out and heal the world first and create some sort of activism or sacred activist movement out there before we've been in here, in our hearts, in our own bodies, in our own psyches, which then creates the ripple effect out to we and then out to the world. Okay, I think I explained that. Recordings of the Awaken series will be available up until the 10th, which is in 3 days' time. So all of the recordings are in the Awaken portal, which you have as access till the 10th. Let me just quickly have a little bit of this.
I do have one question when you're finished.
Yes, go, ask.
I just wanted to know, like watching back all the videos and everything, with knowing when you were talking about like being able to feel it or sense it or whatever, how do we, like I've never done any of this before, so how do we know what, like whether we're feeling it or sensing it, or like how do we know that it's it, if that makes sense?
Are you talking about energy?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing a lot of that in Lessons in Truth. So we're going to deep dive into that and learn exactly what it feels like and how to witness it, because each one of us will have a different way of experiencing energy. And just for everybody watching the recording, Lizzie's enrolled in Lessons in Truth, which is why I mentioned that we're going to be doing it in there, just to give her some context. But the idea with energy is that energy flows where your attention goes. So from a very basic perspective, let's say you were a human who did not feel it physically, you didn't see it, you didn't hear it, you weren't someone who experienced energy. You can rest assured that energy exists by simply your attention, by simply witnessing where your attention goes, and then just seeing the after effects of it. So you would play a bit of an experimentation game where you would, let's say you'd go into a visualization, like what we did at the beginning of the session, where you imagine a seed and you send that love out. there's this element of faith and trust that we spoke about in the last session, or the session before that, where you have to have faith and trust that that's enough, and that when the time is right, if you are a being on this planet that is experiencing energy, say viscerally or through any other forms, that will come. But when we go through Lessons in Truth, there are certain ways in which we learn how to see the aura, how to feel energy. And we also go into practicing with one another from a distant perspective, but also you'll be asked to have certain people that come in for sessions where you can actually practice on them and experience that from the practitioner's point of view, and also from the person who's doing it in their own life. So I think what I'm trying to say is that everybody will experience it very differently. And I don't want to outcast anyone who can't feel energy, who can't see energy, who can't experience energy, as someone who isn't right to work with energy, because there's no such thing. We just have our own ways of experiencing it. And through the program, we will figure out what your way is. Is that enough for you?
Yeah, thanks. Because I can't remember whether it was through these sessions that I was, when we were doing one of the visualizations, or when I've been doing your 5-day energy thing as well on the emails. And I went through all of those over the weekend. And I was like, I don't know whether I'm doing this correctly.
And that's okay, because the mind is always going to come in and question everything. Yeah. So what we're going to try and do is park the monkey mind and teach you all the theory of it to the point where it won't matter so much as to whether or not you're feeling anything, because it's happening anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're going to create a structure for you to learn how to experience it in your own way, so that you know whether you're actually experiencing it in the way it's intended. So look, I've got some students who can feel it in their hands, right? Some students who can feel it in their bodies when they're working with energy. Some have got no idea. Like they're just like, I can't even close my eyes and visualize. Like visualizing for me is also very challenging. So then, like you've experienced as part of the heart mentorship, you have like images. So I show you images to help you create the neural pathways, the visualization, so that, for example, we talk about energy in the way that it flows, and then I show you an image of what it looks like on your screen. And you can see that. And if you're having trouble with visualizing it, you can just watch it and pretend that that image on the screen is you, and have the energy flow in your body, and we can go from there.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Also, one of the things that I wanted to share with you guys is that on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be showing up a lot on Instagram, on my stories, and maybe a live or two, taking everyone through just a bunch of things that I've got to share. We created a whole series that's now off social media, which I think this is the right place to do these calls. But I had a lot of questions just about basic things that I thought that I would show on social media that relate to Awaken, but that can be shown as simple tips and tricks on how I take care of my physical body, my mental body, my emotional body, and my spiritual body on a day-to-day basis. And we thought what we would do is do it over 3 days, so that you can see that not every day looks the same, and that some days are like more intense with the care and the nurture, and other days are just a little bit more relaxed on it. So hopefully over those 3 days, you'll get a sense of what it looks like to work with energy on all spectrums, and also to see what it looks like to be an energy medicine mentor, someone who takes this work and helps others with it, in the event that Lessons in Truth is something you want to do, and give you a bit of context for that. So that's Wednesday, the 9th, Thursday, the 10th, Friday, the 11th of March. So make sure that you're following me on Instagram at Ariana Pina, and play along, ask questions, feel free to use that as like a live demonstration where you're able to communicate with me directly and be part of the experience as if you're in the room with me. Yeah. I also wanted to open up that particular portal, the Instagram portal, for group demonstrations or an opportunity to coach with me one-on-one. So what I'd like to do, and of course, this really does depend on you and how you feel about it, but what I'd like to do is actually create a group demonstration or one-on-one coaching opportunity for someone live on Instagram. Of course, this is going to require for you to be vulnerable on a public platform. And so, look, it's really up to you as to whether this is something you want to do. I've not really done it on a public platform before, but through all of the surveys that I've done, I've had quite a few people who've said that they wouldn't mind it and that would be fine with them. So if that's something that you want, if you want to be included in the demonstrations and the opportunity for one-on-one coaching, please send through a DM. We'll have a conversation to see whether it's appropriate for you. I have had to turn a couple of people away in the past because I just thought it was just too deep, too dark, too much to put on a public platform. But that doesn't mean that I haven't done it privately on just a half an hour telephone conversation, because I obviously want to be of service, whether it's on public platform or not. So if that's something that you want to experience as part of the Awaken 2022 experience, please reach out to me via email or via Instagram, and we can do that as well. Yeah, it's only available for those who watch this recording. I'm not going to be mentioning it on emails or anything like that. So if you've gotten to this part in the Awaken series and you're watching this and you're interested in either doing a one-on-one coaching session or being online, then please reach out to me and let me know. You will, as part of this Awaken series, receive a PDF at some stage over the next week, just going through a list of the things that we have covered. It might not be super comprehensive, but it will just jog your memory as to what we explored so that you have an understanding of which sessions to go back to and watch. And because these sessions will not be available after the 10th, for those of you who reply to me and let me know you would like copies of these videos, I will send you the links privately so that you have the videos. Yeah, Lizzie? Okay, cool. So that you can watch the videos for a long time after that as well. And in that will be included audios and visualizations and those sorts of things as well. And so I wanted to acknowledge each one of you who have taken the time to sit with me live. What a commitment to be here live with me, whether it's one session or all of them. I'm so grateful. And also for those who watch the recordings, because, it takes a lot of commitment to press play and to sit down on a recording when there's no accountability. And I've received some beautiful emails, which now I've responded to everyone, thank goodness, helping me understand what it is that you require and how I can be more of service. So thank you so much to everyone who's taken the time to email me. And goes without saying that this is a full invitation to join us for Lessons in Truth for 2022 if you're not already enrolled. It's going to be such an incredible round. I've spoken to all of the alumni already. We've been drumming this up since last year, December or November already, really speaking about, all of the ways in which this mentorship is going to be so, so special this time round. And the alumni are super excited to come back. I'm super excited to deliver it. And it's going to be such a different way in which we deliver it, because in the past, it's been really, really full on, like everything has just been thrown at participants really as lots of information, whereas this time we go a little bit slower to allow for everybody to kind of catch up and to be in the moment where they're able to absorb the information and also use it in their lives. And so with that being said, Awaken comes to an end. I hope that this series has helped you to awaken parts of yourself that perhaps lay dormant. The Holding Polarization workshop that will be included as part of this Lessons in Truth bonus will be delivered towards the end of Lessons in Truth. And so that is an incentive that you will all have access to once you've enrolled in LIT. And for those of you who have shared on social media, thank you so much. We'll be doing a live draw, I think it's today at about lunchtime-ish. I just need to check my schedule, but I think we've put it in it today. On Instagram, we'll be doing the live draw. There were a few of you that did tag me and shared this information. So I'm so grateful for you as well. Let's see who wins a free energy healing session with me. It's going to be so special. And yeah, that's all I got. All right. It's been so good to hang out with you guys. Thank you for being here. My hope is that you're able to hold this polarization, whether you join us for Lessons in Truth or not, that you're able to use the information that we've shared over the last 2 weeks, that you're able to hold this polarization in your communities in such a way that has you free to cultivate and create relationships in your life that are strong and beautiful and nourishing. And let's just stop the divisiveness, because it's old news. That's so 2021. It's really time to get to unity consciousness. So thank you,
Ari,
for being here. Take care. Bye for now.